Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the podcast and the YouTube channel. Boy, oh boy, if you don't like stress, if you don't like a bunch of uncertain news, well, you probably shouldn't be watching or playing NBA DFS in general, but today is the epitome of NBA DFS. This slate is going to drive you absolutely nuts, and if you perhaps win today, even better, you should be a champion of champions. What you're seeing on the screen is 27 player injuries. That's not all of the player injuries. Let me scroll for you. You see this? So currently, 38 pieces of news that are impactful, probably a little bit more than that. I left some players who, from the trade last night, Clint Capella, if you did not see, a 4-team deal, the most extensive deal in NBA history from 4 different teams. Robert Covington going to the, and Jordan Bell, I believe, Rockets. The Hawks get Capella, Shabazz Napier on the move. Just a ton of pieces that are all over the place right now. So I'm going to do my best to break down these player news, keep it very brief and swift, and then go over to the early interest. Aim for that 20-minute mark as usual. Projections are going to be more key than ever today than any other day. They're going to vary by player and industry and company to company because it's so much news and so many teams down to 9 players in their rotations and a ton of very cheap bodies that if you look at the Wolves today, I've got 9 guys projected for them. That's it. In 6 of those 9, they're making a player pool. 5 of those 9 are in my top 10 right now in terms of value. It is unbelievable what this slate is offering right now. It is kind of scary. You can do anything you want with paying up, and there's not a lot of pay-up options. You don't have Luka. He's out today, so you don't really have any of those 11 to 12K Giannis and Hardens and Westbrooks and LeBrons. It's really just Karl Anthony Towns. So you're going to have a lot of balanced builds. I wouldn't be shocked to see a winning lineup with like $47,000 spent at all and having a ton of money left over. If you are new here and you're finding me for the first time, I do cover daily fantasy sports in NBA, PGA, XFL. Right now I have videos out and more to come. NFL, a bunch of other sports as well when they're in season. Hit me with a follow, hit me with a subscribe button here. I do appreciate it. Also on the audio version, how those ears doing? I appreciate it if you hit me with a subscribe button over there as well. 5-star rates and reviews, all that stuff before we get into it. And then I'll quickly just shout out that I do have projections over on Patreon. If you are interested, they're linked up down below. There'll be a little I button up here that'll pop out at some point, but you can click it. A little half screen will come out, quarter screen, and that can also open up a screen to Patreon. Projections were free yesterday. Hopefully you guys enjoyed those. We went live last night. I'm not going to be going live on this slate. I'll be trying to pick and choose spots that I find in my schedule and get on some live streams. And lastly, drafters.com, linked up above is their picture. You can go to drafters.com, not salary cap based. It's snake draft based, very similar to draft.com, which doesn't exist anymore if you like playing on there with their best ball leagues. Drafters.com is going to be offering some best ball leagues over the summer and probably, I would imagine, into the NFL season. But right now they have snake drafts. They have rankum formats for NBA. I like playing over there. I urge you to check it out. Use the promo code SAL100, SAL100, get you a 100% deposit match up to $50. So you want to try it out, put $10 in, you'll get 10 for free to play in there as well. You can use that promo code to let them know that you came from me. So those are the plugs, right? We got the ad read, we get the plugs out of the way. Definitely like that site, though. You should definitely check out Drafters. But let's get into this injury news because it is my God a lot. So starting in Atlanta, alphabetical. DeAndre Hunter, questionable. Cam Reddish is going to miss with a concussion. Bruno Fernando is questionable. I currently have him in projected for 18 minutes. DeAndre Bembry is out. And that is the main injury news. Trae Young is going to have a questionable tag on DraftKings, but he's off the injury report. So the major news here is DeAndre Hunter. I believe I am projecting him out as of right now. Bruno Fernando, I'm projecting in just because I had to give minutes somewhere. I gave him, I think, 18, and I think I gave Damian Jones 23. Makes Jones look like an okay play. Not much interest in Fernando at that point. In Brooklyn, you have Kyrie Irving going to miss again. Karis LeVert finally played 30-plus minutes and played very well. He looks like a fine option today with no Irving. Spencer Dinwiddie priced where he should be. With all the value on today's slate, I don't get there as much, but if you end up on him, it's probably a lower-owned play that has upside, so I don't think it's terrible. That's all the Brooklyn news. In Boston, Kemba and Marcus Smart are both questionable. I'm projecting them both in. With all these guys now healthy, if indeed they do play in the way I'm projecting this, not much interest in Kemba. Not much interest in Marcus Smart. Not much interest in Gordon Hayward. My interest would lie in some Jordan or Jason Tatum, some Jaylen Brown, but they're all at a price point, if they're all healthy, and it's a big if, we'll see, that I just don't feel like getting to them at this point. Daniel Tice is out, though. That makes Enes Kanter, who's 4,200, very appealing. I gave him 22 minutes. They said he was on a 20-minute limit his last time out, so now that he's had a couple of days, I give him 22. He looks like a fine option. In Cleveland, Tristan Thompson is questionable with a quad. I'm currently projecting Tristan Thompson to miss this game, giving Larry Nance 32 minutes. That helps him out. Giving John Henson, the backup center, 18. Not much interest there. I gave Kevin Love 33. Again, not much interest there. And I'm not shocked to see Kevin Love not play tonight due to some sort of trade issue, but we'll see if that actually happens. Getting into Dallas, lots of injury news here. Luka is going to be out again. Seth Curry is questionable, and JJ Barea are questionable. I have JJ Barea out today. It doesn't look like his prospects are as good at playing as Seth Curry's. I projected Seth Curry to play 25 minutes today. No real interest in Seth Curry at that point, but it will affect the overall runs of the DeLon Wrights. Tim Hardaway Jr., I still have around 32 minutes. He looks like an okay option. In Denver, another team very similar to Minnesota that is going to be just destroyed with injuries, and Malik Beasley being traded away and Hancho Hernangomez being traded away. They don't have a lot of bodies either, and we're going to have to see what happens with their injury news because it's really impactful. Jeremy Grant got injured last night. They said he's doubtful to play today with an ankle injury. Michael Porter Jr. missed last night, the front end of the back-to-back. He's questionable with an ankle injury. I have him projected in for 25 minutes because if Michael Porter Jr. doesn't play today, 25 minutes are going to have to get thrown at like Victor Cancor, which you probably don't even know who he is, and I'm probably pronouncing that name absolutely wrong. I'm already giving him like 8 minutes, and he's going to have to project for like 16, and there's just going to be minutes thrown everywhere. There's not a lot of bodies. Paul Millsap, to be announced, he has no injury update. He's missed like the last 15 games with a knee injury. Malik Beasley is out with a trade. Hernangomez is out with a trade. There are not a lot of bodies on this team. I'm giving Torrey Craig 30-plus minutes because where else are you giving the minutes to? You also have to keep in mind that Jamal Murray returned last night, and he was on a minutes limit. He played 20 minutes. I have him at 24 minutes tonight, which might not even be possible to get more minutes on a back-to-back when you're on a minutes limit, but that's just where the minutes have to go. There's not a lot of bodies due to injuries and trades. Hopefully we get news on Paul Millsap and or Michael Porter Jr. playing so we have more clarity in this team. Very messy situation. Derrick Rose in Detroit is going to be out with an adductor. Markieff Morris is questionable with an illness. I have Morris currently out. You can project him in. I mean, we'll have time to update this. With Morris out, it makes Christian Wood look like a very good play. It puts Thon McCurr in the rotation, and and that's pretty much it from there. Andre Drummond still looks fine. Sekou Demboye looks okay, but probably not somebody I have to get to with all the Minnesota value. And then Svi, he is going to be out as well. So tons of value here as well. Bruce Brown and Reggie Jackson, both way too cheap, look fantastic. Have them both for 30-plus minutes. Bruce Brown has played 38 in back-to-back with no Derrick Rose, with no Svi. There's just 60 minutes to go around, 62 minutes to go around. So I think Reggie Jackson, Andre Drummond, and Bruce Brown look the best right now from Detroit. Christian Wood would also look really good if indeed Markieff Morris misses. Indiana's going to have no TJ Warren, and they did announce that Victor Oladipo's minutes limit will increase to 28 now, making him at 5,300. Probably somebody I still don't get to, but a little bit more appealing. For Memphis, it's just Joe Val questionable with a knee today. Keep an eye on that. Will impact Brendan Clark's upside, and guys like Solomon Hill would get more run. Jay Crowder, depending on Jonas Valanciunas' status. In Miami, no Tyler Hero with an ankle. No Myers Leonard with an ankle. No Justice Winslow as I scroll the screen right now. No Justice Winslow with his back injury will continue to miss, has not played in quite some time. With no Hero, with no Myers Leonard, it makes Kelly Olynyk look better. He's been getting solid minutes in the low to mid-20s. It makes Derrick Jones Jr., who I have projected for 30-plus minutes today, look better. I have Goran Dragic for 30 minutes. Kind of a neutral play for me there. So Miami today, they all seem price appropriate against a good defense, and when there's a ton of other value, not really interested in too much of them. I think Olynyk, I think Derrick Jones Jr. look the best here in terms of value. Now we get to Minnesota. Whew. All right, let's do it. Shabazz Napier is going to be out today with a trade. Robert Covington also traded is out. Allen Crabbe is doubtful today just due to an injury to his knee. Kiara Bates-Diapo, who's been playing 18 to 20 minutes a game, he is out due to a trade. Jake Layman has not played in months. I have him as doubtful. I assume he's just going to be ruled out. He is out with a toe injury. Lots and lots of news. Noah Vonleh I didn't put on this list. He's also out due to a trade. Jordan Bell also out due to a trade. I didn't put them on the list because they don't really matter usually day to day. Tons of bodies gone. With Jalen Noel still in the team, they recalled him yesterday. According to Josh Engelman, we were talking this morning. I'll be on a live show on Awesemo with him at 9:30 a.m. East Coast time, so you can watch that on replay if you're not watching in time. This video will probably be up around the time that starts, but 9 bodies today in Minnesota, and they are all so cheap. Jarrett Culver, Josh Okogie, because nobody saw this trade coming when the salaries went out yesterday. So all these guys are way too cheap. I mean, you have right now Keelan Martin. I'm projecting for 30-plus minutes at the 4 because there's no Robert Covington. I don't know who's going to fill those minutes. 5 of these guys are in my top 10. 6 of them are right now in my top 20 on this team. That is very scary. I think today's a day where I'd be shocked if 2 Minnesota Timberwolves are not in the winning lineups. I would not be surprised if 4 are in the winning lineups, to be honest with you. Getting into Orlando, Ken Burch is questionable with a back. I have him ruled out right now in my projections, and Wes Iwando in his place for 22 minutes. For Phoenix, Dario Saric, Tyler Johnson, and Ty Jerome are all out today. You're just going to continue to see what you have been seeing. Big minutes out of McCall Bridges there. Javon Carter going to pick up good run as well due to the injuries to Tyler Johnson and Ty Jerome. It'll be Javon Carter getting run, as well as Ricky Rubio coming back and playing about 30 minutes and some more minutes as well to the other guards there. Marc Gasol is out today with a hamstring. Helps Serge Ibaka, who's way too cheap in the low 6K range. Rondae Hollis-Jefferson questionable with an ankle. I am projecting him as out. That is it. That is 38 pieces of injury news. Everybody take a deep breath. Round of applause. We clap right there. So I'm going to show you quickly the target offense sheet. Screenshot it if you'd like. I projected myself 3 of these totals because they're not out yet, but we're going to get right into the early interest. Target offense sheet is available on Patreon. Early interest today. So I extended it. Usually there's 20 names on this list. I ended up putting today, due to all the injury news, 24 in pricing order. Now look, you have loads of value. I literally think at $4,500 or below, there's probably 10 viable pieces of value today. On this, maybe even more. On this list, I have 7 alone, and I think they're pretty good if I'm putting them on this list. As of right now, 5K and below, I literally have like 12 pieces of value that I think is strong value depending on injury news on some of these teams like Detroit. It looks really good. The downside is you don't have much pay-up options. Like Trae Young and Karl-Anthony Towns, putting them in the same lineup together makes a lot of sense to me today because it's so easy to do so. They're personally themselves not expensive. 10-1 for Trae, looks fine against Minnesota. Towns with his whole team depleted, going to have to be forced into 35 minutes. I have him at today. Not shocked if he plays 36 or 37. In a great spot where Atlanta has no Alex Len today still. Another piece of injury news. They probably don't have Bruno Fernando, although he's questionable, so maybe probably not. It's not a good way. 50-50 toss-up. Either way, none of that's really impacting Towns. So looks like a slate where you just get to Towns, you get to Young, you put in some value, and you're still able to afford some really solid 6 and 7K options. So Towns and Young up top look strong to me. I think putting them both together on this type of a slate makes sense where you don't have a ton of other pay-up options. Jokic is also okay, but when I compare him to Towns, I prefer Towns. When I compare him to Trae Young, I greatly prefer Trae Young. Vooch at 8,400 and Porzingis at 83 are my 2 8K options that I like today. Look, Porzingis is a 1.3 fantasy point per minute guy. He's played 36 minutes in back-to-back games when there's been no Luka. I have him at 34 today, which I think could possibly be low from what we've been seeing. In a fine matchup against Memphis, nice pace-up spot, good transition scoring situation. And he's still way too cheap at 8,300. I would prefer Porzingis to Vooch right now. I think Vooch is fine against Boston and Enes Kanter and Grant Williams for the most part today in his matchup. Have him at 34 minutes. Have him as like a 1.3 fantasy point per minute guy. They both look fine. Andrew Wiggins at 7,400. Have him at just a 1.1 fantasy point per minute guy today at 35 minutes. And he's popping a ton against Atlanta. Now, without anybody else on his team at this point, and the guys sharing the ball with him, outside of Towns, his main producers being Jarrett Culver, Josh Okogie, Jordan McLaughlin, and Keelan Martin, right? Some of those names being his top producers. I imagine Wiggins has the ball in his hands a lot. $7,400 is $1,000 too cheap. If they were to price this right now, I think he would be like $8,400 against Atlanta. Andrew Wiggins is one of my top 10 plays today. He stands out just so much with a 121 team total as of right now. Going down a little bit more, Donovan Mitchell at 7,100, still too cheap, projecting for 34 minutes. Tougher matchup, but Denver getting healthier, but still they have not been performing all that well. It's just really tough to favor Mitchell over a guy like Wiggins, but if you can get to both of them, he still looks fine. Oubre at 7K, one of the guys on this list I like the least because he's one of the guys on this list that's actually appropriately priced. Projecting him for 37 minutes versus Detroit is a very strong matchup for him. He's about a point per minute producer, so it obviously looks good. He's going to project out for like 36, 37, 38 fantasy points at 7K, or no, he's going to project out for like a 35 fantasy point day at 7K. That's obviously great. He's like a 5.2, 5.3x guy, but when Andrew Wiggins is projecting so lovely and guys in the 6K range are shooting up, Oubre becomes less of a priority, even though he's really good still because of all the other value. 6K range, I like Will Barton at 62 and Serge Ibaka at 61. I prefer Ibaka. I have him for 30 minutes today in a nice matchup against the Pacers. Tougher rebounding spot versus Turner and Sabonis, but still fine at that price point. There's no Gasol. He's going to play 30 minutes at least if the game stays close, with the upside of playing 32 to 34. And he's a 1.1 point per minute guy. He's just way too cheap. In the 5K range, I have a couple guys here. Bojan Bogdanovic, I have at 34 minutes versus Denver. He pops off as a nice play. Kevin Porter, I put at 36 minutes. He's been playing 38 as of late. You put him at 38, he looks even better versus Minnesota. But at 36 minutes, he pops off as a nice play. Karis LeVert has seen a huge price tick up. That scares me a little bit. But now he gets a nice matchup against Golden State. I have him at 32 minutes, is what he played last time out when there was no Kyrie Irving, no Kyrie again today. The concern is that his price point shot up a lot, right? It shot up over $1,000, pretty much 1,000, I believe. The matchup's fine. Does he continue the magic of the one game compared to all the other games when he's been stinking? I'm not too sure. So I'll pump the brakes a little bit on LeVert's overall value. He looks good today, but I'll be a little bit hesitant with all the other options we have. Tim Hardaway Jr., I believe I have at 31 minutes today against Memphis. Again, no Luka, potentially no Seth Curry and or JJ Barea. Currently have Curry projected in, Barea out. Tim Hardaway at 31 minutes looks like a fine option. Nothing stands out too much. I prefer this 4K range so much more. Reggie Jackson and Bruce Brown on the same team, both at 4,900. Both look fantastic today. I have Reggie Jackson at 31 minutes. I have Bruce Brown at 33. Bruce Brown's played 38 in back-to-back. If you put him at 35 or 36, he becomes one of the best plays on the slate. Bruce Brown and Reggie Jackson are both top 15 plays for me today. The matchup against Phoenix couldn't get any better. Their price points are just so head-scratchingly too low with no Derrick Rose in the lineup, no Svai in the lineup. So when I project them at this point, they're projecting for high 20s in fantasy points, if not the 30s right now, like Reggie Jackson. Actually, they're both projecting in the 30s in the 4K range. That should tell you enough about how good of a play they are. Christian Wood I have at 30 minutes, but I have Markieff Morris out. If Morris is in, he will not be as good of a play. If Morris is out at 30 minutes versus this Phoenix team that is just beaten up and putting Mikal Bridges at the 4, should be a very, very fruitful spot for Christian Wood. At 30 minutes today for Christian Wood, he grades out as a top 12 play for me on the day if indeed Markieff Morris doesn't play. Terrence Ross at 4,600 is too cheap versus Boston. Now it's a tougher matchup. I don't prefer him. I prefer Reggie Jackson and Bruce Brown to Terrence Ross. Maybe even some guys on the Minnesota team that are in the 3K range, definitely over him. So it's tougher to get to Ross, but 30 minutes of play as of late. Still no DJ Augustine. A situation where he's getting just a ton of run ahead of Michael Carter-Williams. He's a point per minute producer. Tougher matchup if indeed Marcus Smart and Kemba play today, especially Smart, but still worth a look. And it's Cantor with no Daniel Tice. Have him at only 22 minutes in this matchup against Orlando. He looks rather good. It's tougher to prioritize him over a lot of the Minnesota value because a lot of these Minnesota pieces might play 34, 35 minutes today, and he might only play 20 to 22. But Cantor is a 1.2 fantasy point per minute producer guy for me today. Looks rather good. And now you get to a lot of Minnesota pieces. Josh Okogie at 4,000. Not my favorite player, but he's one of those guys that's in my top 5. Jarrett Culver, I believe, is my number 1 play in the slate. I'll have to go back and look. But this is the way that I look at Minnesota. I want a lot of Towns. I want a lot of Wiggins. They are the two guys who stand out the most. Obviously, the two studs on this team. But when you start talking about value, Jarrett Culver stands out. I'm giving him 34 minutes today against Atlanta as a guard. That stands out. Keep an eye on if he starts or not. Jordan McLaughlin stands out at 3,300. I'm giving him 26 minutes, and he pops off. He can play 32 for all we know. Keelan Martin stands out. So those are the 6 guys. Okogie, Wiggins, Towns, McLaughlin, Keelan Martin, and Culver today. If I had to rank them roughly right now, and I haven't run any crunches, but I would probably say ranking them would be 1, Towns, 2, Wiggins, 3, Culver, 4 Martin, 5 McLaughlin, and 6 Okogie. That is no slash on Okogie or anything. They're all in my player pool. Again, 5 of those guys are in my top 10. 6 are, I believe, in my top 20 right now. So all of them stand out. Langston Galloway is worth a mention as well with all those guard injuries. He's been playing bigger minutes, having projected for 32 today versus Phoenix at 3,500. Keep an eye on Langston Galloway's ownership. If you start to get Culver, rightfully so, projecting for high ownership, Okogie at 4K projecting for high ownership, and McLaughlin projecting for high ownership, they all deserve that. But if Galloway for some reason gets lost in the shuffle, I would be fine getting to Galloway as a pivot off of one of them, or definitely Okogie or McLaughlin, because he's going to play similar minutes to them and be somewhat of a similar fantasy point per minute producer. So it could be a sneaky spot to get different. Kelly Olynyk's been playing mid-20s. I have him at 25 today versus the Clippers due to the injuries to mainly Myers Leonard. He's getting on the court more. He looks fine. And then that's about it, gang. So that's 24 players that I have of interest. My player pool right now is 65 players in terms of my interest. If you're a Patreon, you can go ahead and see all of those guys. Everything will be updated throughout the day. I expect a lot of news, whether it's trades, injury news, status updates, starting lineups. All of that's going to be pretty hectic. So between 6 and 7 p.m. lock, I imagine I'll be sending out like 6 or 7 updates to the Patreon projections. So keep an eye on those, and then even more after lock. So this is in the 2.5 years and I feel like I say this like once every 4 or 5 months. Once every 3 months, maybe in the NBA. This is the most hectic time in the NBA during the trade deadline. This is the most hectic slate of the entire season. So if you can't be by your phone from 5 to 8:30 p.m. or 9 p.m. even, 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern time, just don't play. I'm having a hard time wanting to play this slate on how just hectic it's going to be. If you're paying attention, you'll have a great edge tonight. So best of luck, everybody. Be sure to hit the subscribe button before you go. Check out drafters.com, promo code SAL100, SAL100, SAL100 for 100% deposit match up to $50. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Be sure to hit me with a follow over on Twitter. Be sure to check out my Patreon exclusive content. Best of luck on this hectic slate, everybody. My name's Sal. Peace out, gang. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed that video. Above my head, if you're not already subscribed to this channel, I do ask you if you can please hit that subscribe button. Helps me out a good amount to reach more people. You can also follow me on Twitter. That's over there. Right in the corner is my @SalVetriDFS Twitter. And then above, you'll find my Patreon link. You can click on that if you want more exclusive content for me. Or a video is going to pop up, so why don't you check that one out as well. I think it's going to be beneficial for you. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.